Gina did this video a few days ago, and it was extremely interesting. Um, I just came back. I've been listening to it again. But what I want to say first, um, there's the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious minds. But this subject was so important to me that I wrote about it. Let me see if I can get this straight here. Chapter 3, Dreams of the Paranormal. I just put a few of my dream experiences in my book. Like the first out-of-body experience that I had. And I put the photo in my book because that is where I was in my dream, except in my dream I was flying. And I've driven this road quite a bit, so I have calculated I was probably flying like 60 miles an hour in the dream. But it was interesting because in my dream, oops, let me try a different way. I had perceived where I was at a different time because there was a dirt road, but there was no gravel. There was no buildings. And it was if I had actually gone back in time. And I remember starting to feel a little scared because I was there alone. And then I heard some singing going on. And I heard some, call them rattles. Actually, it's a certain rattle. It's the dew toes of a deer. They're used in many indigenous cultures, so they do have a certain sound. And I looked behind me, and there were probably 5 or 6 of them. They were walking toward me, but they walked right past me. And then when they were done with their song, they were just laughing, really laughing. And there was one woman, she was at the back. There was men walking in front of her. And she looked at me and she said in English, "Come go with us." And that scared me. I didn't even know what language they were singing, but apparently it was some happy song. I might have to close this. Oh, no, I didn't mess my book up. Lost my spot. But I've had dreams that actually give me very specific information. Lying in the desert, that was a strange thing. And then 1987, a dream of this elderly Indian woman. And I was living here in Albuquerque at that time, and I didn't know what it was. I found out later what it was, but she was very, very old, but her eyes looked young. And she held this rock. She suspended it like that between her fingers, and she released it, and it stood there by itself. And then she changed it from a solid to a liquid to a gaseous and back, and reversed it back. I mean, she looked almost this old. Somebody stole that one. And then the Grease one, 1994. This was probably one of the strangest ones that validates past lives that I have experienced so far. So let me see. I'll read one of these at some point when I can get the book to cooperate with me. Oh yeah. In this one, 1994, a dream at the same time. I was living in Kitchener-Waterloo, Canada, on David Street near Victoria Park. And for the past several weeks, I had cold spots in my house. My cat was acting weird, looking at things that weren't there and reacting. I even mentioned to my doctor that things seemed strange, but I couldn't figure it out. I woke up that morning at 9:05 a.m. and was thinking about a dream I had that night. I miss being in Alabama. But anyway, I wanted to be at my adopted mother's, but I knew I couldn't. I had a really good job and everything. And anyway, I had the dream, woke up at 9:05. And it was like I was physically had been there, standing at her bed. And that afternoon, my attorney, Bo Harrison, same one I still have in Alabama, I got a message. He was trying to reach me, and he wanted to know if I was in Canada or Alabama. So I found out that my adopted mother had called him because she had woken up and saw me at the foot of her bed. And when she reached to turn the light on, I disappeared. And she thought, well, maybe I went to, the restaurant to get something to eat or went to visit one of my local friends there. But no, that was in the dream. So that was really strange. And what I found out was, with her cancer at that time, it was just time for me to go down there and be with her as she crossed over. And that was where the house I was in when I had the dream. And she was in Lacey Springs, Alabama, but still, somehow through the dream state, we had the same exact dream at the same time. The only thing was there was 1 hour time zone difference. Let's see, what else have I got in here? Oh, the bear dream and the hitchhiker. See, 2001, been in Minnesota. I had a dream about an old house and a man, well, a bear in the house, and then later turned into a man and told me that my mother was trying to reach me. The next morning, before I headed out to South Dakota, I got a call, and it was my mother, and I hadn't talked to her in over a year. So how that came through in my dream was really strange. And then a few years later, 2014, I pick up a guy that's hitchhiking, and it's dusk, so you need to be where you're going at that time of day. So I picked him up, and he said he was going to McCarty's. And I looked at him. I said, don't tell me where you're going. I know where you're going, and I'm going to take you exactly there. And sure enough, I turned on the road, told him, don't tell me anything. And I said, why, what's up with this house? And he says, how did you know where I needed to go? See, there's a road that goes back here, and the next house over was where he wanted to go. It was his family's house back there. It was empty. It's, fully furnished. Nobody lived back there. But I said, I want to know who had that house because I had a dream about it a while back. And he told me that was his uncle's house, that his uncle was a bear clan and a medicine man. So that kind of validated the dream I had about why I was in that house, around that house, and why a bear broke in, scared me, And then I'm sitting at it. Next thing I know, I'm sitting at a table with some Indian people, and they're talking. I don't know what they're saying, but then he looks at me and tells me in English, your mom's trying to reach you. And then I had a dream warning of a car accident. I'm sure y'all seen Natural Born Killers. Carmel Reynolds was in that movie with Val Kilmer. But anyway, her mother wanted a break, so I told Florence, well, let's change vehicles, and you take my little car where nobody can fit in it, and I'll take your vehicle. So I woke up before daylight, and there was a woman's voice in my head, and she says, there's been an accident. And I was like, oh, what's this? So I get my friend up. I said, Ted, there's been an accident. We got to go. Something bad's happened. So we went to Vitel, South Dakota, to where his aunt's house was. And he calls, and sure enough, his sister Carmel and her 3 daughters. The daughters were med-flighted out from, I think, Red Shirt Table in Rapid City, South Dakota. But yeah, there had really been a really bad car accident, and somehow I got that information. This one is very detailed. I'm not going to go into details about it right now, but we just call them sacred beings. Let me grab this real quick. Her head was very similar to this. There were no arms, but the body part was triangle shaped, and it was nothing but all types of colors, fractals of every single type, paisleys, colors I have never ever seen before. And what I learned from that dream was the 120 cell. Yeah, a 120 cell. Check that one out. Why they were teaching me that in my dream, but the thing was, in my dream, it was an outdoor setting. And all of a sudden, there was like a little stage, but all of a sudden people were starting running and scattering all over the place. They were trampling on each other. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And there was a man in front of me that had a heart attack. And his wife was trying to help him, but he was already coding out. So, and normally I would run help, but I didn't. I just stood there. And then I saw the being that was, from the ground up into the sky, and I was just fascinated by the colors. So, and I've had a dream about the truck and Jesus coming back. Oh, and about UFO and hybrids. And see, this is where I pick up on Ryan Upchurch and his art. His art tells me a lot about his experience, and what he deals with that he doesn't even talk about. So, what's this? Oh, that's just something after a ceremony. But anyway, that's a little bit later.